da da da. Here's Matt. Da 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 da. There's Burt. Ba da ba ba ba. Hope something sticks. Blah blah blah.
Welcome to Hope Something Sticks. I'm Burt.
Yo, I'm Matt. What's up?
And today we'll be talking about the very pleasant topic of politics in the United States, specifically the Republican and the Democratic parties.
Oh, I thought we were going to cover everything. Oops. Just throw out 2% of my notes.
Well, there goes the Whig Party, the Libertarian Party, the Independents.
Whig Party is instrumental in American history, and no one remembers.
I didn't say not saying it's not. Just doesn't exist anymore, and it's not one of the two parties that we're talking about.
Yeah, they really fucked up.
Yeah. That'll be a different episode.
We can talk about them right now. They supported slavery. The end. Thanks, Jimmy. It's Jimmy Buchanan, everybody. Your second worst president in American history. I'll try not to be too biased. I think I'm supposed to be I think I can be the Republican. Yeah, I'm not going to say the Republican side, but I'll try to be the more conservative.
Really?
Proponent.
I feel like I'm more conservative than you are.
You definitely kind of are, in some regards, sure. That's what's fucked about politics nowadays, is that they're just not recognizing the intersectionality of both of their parties and the obviousness of it, in some regards, and how everyone, even young people, are disenchanted by the idea that, okay, here's what I am as a label, and now here's the checklist of everything, and you gotta check off every single thing. And that's not what people want, man. They don't want the fucking cable package deal. They want the a la carte package. And that's how it's viewed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But, the reason why it's not like that, even though people, I think the majority of people, have the same viewpoint on you on that, is that no one from a party is willing to break off and create a third party. Because if you do that, say if you cut the, either Democratic or Republican Party in half, then that means, the other party that didn't split off will control politics forever. Unless they split off as well.
They're just underestimating the will of people to do crazy shit. That's why the Democrats lost in 16 to a fucking reality TV host who was he didn't just burst onto the scene with a TV show. He's been in the American mouth as bad taste or a cavity for about 30 years.
I'd say more than that. I'd say he started off in the 70s.
Sure.
Became kind of big in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Went bankrupt 5 times.
That's it?
And then popped up. I think his company's had 5 bankruptcies.
He takes care of business, huh? 5 bankruptcies and he's still swinging.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. The people he's put out of business because of those bankruptcies, they're not.
Yeah. Well, he's able to make money off of his brand. There's a lot of buildings that have, say, Trump on them that he doesn't actually own. He just licenses his brand, and he makes money off of that. And he also got almost inexplicably billions of dollars from Deutsche Bank, who is currently being investigated for having shady dealings with the Russian government.
Oh no, we're going to be taking care of those investigations pretty soon. Everybody who has anything to do with them, or who has ever filed, any kind of an email with an attachment related to it, has been fired.
I don't know. It's never really happened before. Even if a president had done something illegal, it, like no, nobody went after Nixon. I mean, it was his vice president that became president after him, but the next guy up didn't do anything either.
No, they got rid of Spiro. He had to resign too.
Mm. Well, yeah, but there's no criminal charges brought up.
Right. There were no criminal charges, and yet he was given a pardon anyway, because Gerald Ford was dumb. Very, very dumb, Gerald. That's why he was very adequately acquainted. He had the best impersonation ever on that episode of The Simpsons when George Bush moved in next to Homer. And then George Bush moves because Homer just pisses him off so much. That neighbor, I love that episode. It was fantastic. Where this just presidential mansion just shows up out of nowhere next door, or across the street.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So anyway, Democrats and Republicans. So, well, you're acquainted more with history, Matt. Why don't you kind of break down, how the party started, and also how they kind of switched places over the past, say 70 years.
Yeah, we're pushing that. In the beginning, there was a guy with a big old fucking beard, but he was ballsy enough to not have a mustache with that beard. Very, very weird times in the Civil War. And South didn't appreciate that too much. Plus, he kept trying to add states, specifically with slavery banned outright. Oh, fast forward, 650,000 dead Americans in total-ish, and plus one dead president. And you have the birth of the Republican Party, forged on Lincoln's legacy, and then blown into the side of a mountain in the 30s on Indian land. Oh, God. Woo! Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
That'll be there for 200,000 years. After everything is gone. Yeah, maybe. Buildings, roads, whatever. That'll still be there. Mount Rushmore, it'll be faded and weird and weathered, and you'll see these weird amorphous shapes just carved into the side of a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It is truly America's most macabre monument. And Abe Lincoln's up there, because he effectively freed 0 slaves when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, 1863.
Right, when he signed it, but after the war, then a lot.
Then the process began. Then
Yeah.
the great process began, which had to also face innumerable Jim Crow laws, which took another 100 years to get anything done. And what happens 100 years later? A Southerner blows the head off of the next guy who tries getting anything done on that. Except this time it's a Democrat. But even that doesn't stop it. Because a man from that same state, Lyndon Johnson, carries the torch even further and gets the Civil Rights Act passed in, I believe, 64, the next year.
Yeah, it was in 64.
Yeah. And that was it. The second he did that, the South was Democratic religiously. It was just rote. You knew they were going to vote Democratic every time just because of what Lincoln did. And you know what? If anybody tries to tell you different, they're full of shit. It wasn't social programs. It wasn't what FDR was doing. It wasn't. I mean, FDR certainly fucking helped out a little bit, a lot of it, with the New Deal, which is hilarious nowadays that Republicans are shitting all over the Green New Deal because it's the same. It harkens on those same principles, but it also, it's really given them a kind of an existential crisis. They're heading down to the wire here. Sorry to jump ahead, and when the switch happened, but the switch happened with the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act.
Right. Well, it wasn't like a clean switch like right after that happened. It was a pretty slow process.
I don't think so. Nixon hammered it home with the Southern strategy. He knew exactly what to do. He said, look at all these people who are pissed off with the Democratic Party, and they're all Southerners. They don't like black people. So let's just hammer it home and call them, and this is where he co-opted a term, the silent majority. He stole that. The silent majority referred to the dead, the war dead, the great dead. They were is a poetic term. And then he co-opts that and says, no, the silent majority is all us not saying anything, which is just which is more horse shit. They were saying plenty.
I particularly remember there was even into the early 2000s, there was a few of those like really old school Democrats that just never made the switch.
This is true.
Who were basically Republicans.
Right.
Like only finally did like around like 2000. I remember there was like the last guy. It was like in 2005 or something when we were in high school.
Sure. Yeah. They didn't.
They didn't
get the memo.
Yeah. And Joe Biden, a lot of his history's been kind of brought up, and he had to deal with a lot of segregationist Democrats. It wasn't like that. I think because people assumed that was like the only important thing within the party system. The divide. There's a lot of things, through the years that were important to Democrats and Republicans, outside of, the race relations. That's a huge thing, and it essentially caused an entire war. But it's not the only thing, and you can even look at it today, where people they don't even see it as what the policies are, and kind of what the party's about. They just go with the party. It's like it's like their college team.
True. That's what it's becoming, for sure.
Yeah, again. So, yeah. So that's kind of sort of a brief on the Democrats and Republicans. Kind of picking up on the Green New Deal. For me, it seemed like it didn't really have like any kind of coherent message to it. It seemed like Ocasio-Cortez took every hope for that the Democratic Party had and put it all into one document. Cause there was like basically everything that the Democrats could have like ever wanted. She like put in there.
Yeah, and you know what? You know what I see? I was out in near my brother. This is my elder brother, and he's out in basically the suburban Discordia spear as it stabs into the heart of the farmland of America. All right, and out there, that's basically those are the battlegrounds nowadays for this upcoming election. It used to be staunchly, every now and again it flips Democratic, but for the most part it's always Republican, because they're the greediest people in our society. Because they want more land, they want their own space, and they want people to stop bothering them.
Hmm.
That's me shitting all over the suburbs. That's gonna be a recurring theme. Cat house. There. We can keep people coming. All right.
So, yeah.
But I still see, even out there. Sorry, I forgot the point. I got derailed. I got derailed by just my love for shitting all over the suburbs. Even out there, I'm seeing the placards. I'm seeing the yard signs. I'm seeing the advertisements of people willingly putting out, Green New Deal! Now! I don't know why people sound southern up here in Illinois, but every now and again it happens.
Yeah. I wonder how many of them actually read the Green New Deal.
I didn't.
Yeah. So apparently there is some stuff that's kind of weird. So I listen to a Joe Rogan's podcast every once in a while.
Boo.
And
just kidding.
Yeah. Fuck that guy who's way more successful than us.
All right, so his sound quality is a hell of a lot better. That's usually what does it.
Yeah. Well, he also, he had a brand before he became a podcaster. He had a whole bunch of famous friends that he could pull from.
I've not forgiven him for ruining Doug Stanhope's career.
Yeah, he was definitely the better one in the Man Show.
He fucked up the Man Show. So
he totally fucked up the Man Show.
How am I supposed to listen to a guy who fucked up the Man Show? Adam Carolla and Steve and Jimmy Kimmel are national icons. And Joe Rogan has a podcast, and Doug Stanhope is an alcoholic. How great is that? Justice in America, everybody. Doug Stanhope is your independent candidate. So anyway, you were listening to Joe Rogan, you fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I don't listen to it for Joe Rogan. He kind of pisses me off. But he does have a lot of good guests on. One interesting guy was Dan Crenshaw. He's a Republican representative of Texas. He's that veteran with the eye patch. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
No.
Yeah, he's pretty badass looking. He looks like Russell Crowe from Escape from New York.
What? That was Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, whatever. There's similar names. I meant
all
Kurt.
Right, let's just keep going.
I meant
me.
I meant Kurt Russell.
Oh man.
It's Kurt Russell from Escape from New York. So anyway,
Crenshaw,
he said
Dan
Crenshaw, eye patch, yeah, veteran. So one of the things that he mentioned about the Green New Deal was, getting away from fossil fuels and being 100%, using 100% green energy at at some point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also say that they want in the Green New Deal to get rid of nuclear energy, which accounts for 20% of our energy consumption.
Whoa.
Or energy output.
Who's given that number?
He did.
Is that from... Okay. I'd have to double check that against the... crap. I can't remember. It's a bunch of vowels. The International Energy Atomic Organization. I can't remember exactly how it's spelled out. There's an organization that specifically monitors how much juice we're getting from each source. And 10 years ago, it was still 50% coal. Now, I haven't checked it in a while. Those numbers are probably screwed up, because 10 years ago we were in the middle of a recession.
Seems so.
There's no way we're getting 20% from nuclear. That's France. France gets it a shitload from nuclear.
No. EIA.gov says we get 19.7%.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's a huge amount, yeah.
That's gargantuan.
Nuclear is, almost 20. Renewables in total, so wind, solar, whatever,
Man.
17.5. Hydropower, 6.6. So
Talk about, dude, I mean, I know nuclear is amazing, but shit, that causes so much waste. And there's so many leaks that could happen. Just not like nuclear waste leaks, but like it's like a T word. I think it's tritium. Kind of sounds like the thing in Spider-Man that Dr. Octopus was trying to steal.
I mean, I think that was tritium that Dr. Octopus was trying to steal.
Shit. All right, whatever. It's, I don't know. Maybe it's the same shit.
So, no, I understand. So there's...
And they need a shitload of water. And, you know, that shit's not
okay,
fucking,
so
that shit's not safe.
All right. So there's concerns about nuclear energy and valid ones. But when you put that up against the concerns of global warming, they're significantly, they're less. The whole world isn't going to catch on fire because of nuclear energy.
Man, global warming, global climate change, and how much fresh water we have on this planet it's all tied together. You can't tell me that, man, it takes a shitload of fresh water.
Here's the thing.
Of fresh water to run those plants.
Okay. Nuclear energy accounts for 20%. So not only are you getting rid of coal, natural gas, but also nuclear energy. So that's almost everything.
Right.
And switching over in the next 30, 40 years. It's not going to happen. Like maybe we taper off from nuclear energy or we harness fusion energy, and which has way less harmful byproducts. But,
And this is what Mr. Crenshaw was saying?
That's what Crenshaw was saying. That's one of the things he was saying. That's the one that stuck out to me the most.
Please educate me in the ways of the Crenshaw. I didn't understand. I didn't know that fusion was a thing that existed.
Oh, he didn't mention fusion. It doesn't exist. I'm saying if it did, it would be much... It wouldn't have the same kind of byproducts as fission does now. But fusion, since it's so much more powerful, so basically, in order to have a fusion reactor, you basically have to create a small sun and have the have the building that encloses it not just melt with the sheer energy of it.
So it has to happen somewhere in the ocean, very deep down. Got it.
Anyway, however you do it, but that's basically what that's what the sun is. It's a gigantic fusion reactor.
Got it. Okay.
And that's what it'd be like. If we created it here on Earth, it would just be a small sun.
Well, that sounds safe. All right, cool.
Not particularly, but if you could make it, again, just the byproducts are much safer, if you're able to harness it. Anyway, that's not the important part.
So let's just put the sun somewhere underneath the ocean. God damn it. What the fuck? We can't just coat Iowa in wind turbines? I mean, who the fuck would miss it? Yeah.
So
let's get into the more interesting topic of which part of America has to sacrifice itself for the rest of us.
Okay, before we get to that, one more thing that Crenshaw mentioned about energy that was also really good, and it's true. So if we rely 100% on, say, wind energy and solar energy and whatever, those are power sources that aren't always there. The sun's not always out and the wind's not always blowing. It's not like nuclear energy or coal or any other kind of final fossil fuel where you could just run it 24/7. And we don't have the energy storage infrastructure to do that. Like, you could, the sun produces more than enough energy to power everything forever, until it blows up in a few billion years. But
Till then,
we can't store that energy. We don't have the battery power to do it. And
something tells me that batteries are going to get a little bit better in the near future.
But here's the thing: the minerals to use to make the batteries causes huge environmental problems where they're mined. Like lithium mining is super dirty. Even if you did do that and mined a whole shit ton of lithium, and then had that infrastructure, like, it still probably wouldn't work too great. You still need something else.
Well, what are you talking about batteries for?
Well, because
I'm not talking about putting batteries in people's fucking homes.
What other green energy source can run 24/7?
Tidal power, geothermal. I mean, geothermal obviously can't go everywhere, so you got spot locations where that could work. But tidal power itself, 90% of the world's population lives on the fucking coast. And that shit still it's still very much in development. They haven't quite figured out how to do it properly. It's going to have, it's going to involve shitloads of cables, and it's going to involve some kind of a balance between where the hell you run that cable and how you run it safely. Tankers and whatnot. Coral and whatnot. Fucking whales running into shit.
Yeah, but would you always have enough power from it? Like, the tides ebb and flow. How
appliances are consistently getting more efficient.
Okay,
we're not running the same phantom loads that we used to run. All that, at some point we're gonna fucking, hit some kind of a balance point. Not to mention, developing countries, and here's the real rub, is population control. Not like in terms of killing people, but developed countries, people stop fucking as much, or at least they stop having as many kids. Because it's so expensive to have a kid.
I don't know if that's the reason, but
that's been the number one thing to knock down population growth, is being a developed nation. I mean, look at Japan or Italy. These are countries dealing with population decline and are desperately trying to get their populations to start banging again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just that's the reason why they're in decline, but there does definitely seem to be a correlation between being a first world country and not having a huge growth in the population.
It doesn't really matter.
Anyway,
any kind of population growth in these countries is, inevitably leads to massive amounts of consumption.
Sure.
So we just need to stop, eating so many damn batteries. Stop eating batteries, kids. What the hell? We're supposed to be talking about politics. How does this relate? How does this come back? Let's bring it back. What's Biden going to do about the Green New Deal? Does he say anything about it? I have not listened to a single interview of his, because I think his strategy, and this is the thing I love ranting about the most, is strategy. And it's the only thing that I can positively, or even remotely play devil's advocate with regards to he who shall not be named, because eventually I don't want to be recorded as having been any kind of a proponent of his at all. I feel bad about having any conversation in the past and anything I've ever said being a proponent of his because this motherfucker is he's just bad news, and he's gonna go down. He's not gonna be on the right side of history, and that's the problem. Is that I know that now. I see very much so how badly he looks, and he is gonna take everybody down with him because he's at the end of his rope, and he doesn't care. This is a man who has not cared since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So what has Biden said? Biden has said nothing because I think he's just letting the fire burn, and he thinks the fire will burn out. I think.
Well, I think what he's doing is a good strategy. Second, well, just to touch back on and kind of close the loop we had. My issue with the whole thing with the Green New Deal and kind of everything that goes along with it is that it's just so much of a pipe dream. Like, I want it all to happen, but it's not going to happen the way that they want it in the time that they want it in. It just not unless everyone becomes as liberal as they are, which is just not going to happen. And that's why from the beginning of the Democratic primary cycle, that's one of the reasons why I've been pulling for Biden.
Well, sometimes you just gotta secret that shit, man. You just gotta will it into existence, and then it'll happen.
Yeah, then the next guy just takes it all down.
I didn't will that into existence. You did.
So, all right. So getting back into kind of the current politics, and we can keep going on with the election, and just kind of the different. Well, there's a whole bunch. There's a whole lot more to the Democrats and Republicans than just the current election. And one thing, yeah. So the one thing that I'm noticing is the more that they hate each other, the Democrats and Republicans, the more time goes on, the less distinction I find between the two. Aside from being pro-choice, pro-life, that debate, and gun rights as opposed to, just, whatever, just selling willy-nilly, essentially. What's the difference between Democrats and Republicans from, just a conceptual standpoint?
One wants, well, I should say one proposes radical tax cuts and presents them as benefiting, let's say, people in the $20,000 to $50,000 income range annually, when in fact those tax cuts may marginally benefit them, but then they tie in much larger tax cuts moving on up the income chain, and that's the crumb that they give to the if you want to call that the middle class. I call that the lower middle class because that's what they are. These are people who can't, whatever. And then there are the others who are proponents of many safety nets for everyone even lower than that $20,000 range. So, and yeah, I think that's really the main difference. And you can pick and choose hot button issues like abortion, which still is amazingly a hot button issue. That one's gonna die out. It doesn't. I don't hear anybody talking about that one because it's just ridiculous to even mention.
I don't know. The religious right still mentions it a lot, and that does take up a big part of the Republican Party, the evangelicals, and a lot of other religious groups, that are in like kind of you call the orthodoxy of their religion.
But voting along an orthodox line, that and only an orthodox line, I mean, you're talking that basically splits the Catholic vote, because the old school Catholic vote was not only pro life and staunchly so, but it was also pro labor. It was also pro labor union, and it was also pro poor people. Vigorously so.
Mm-hmm.
And so that movement is still, I'd like to say, very much alive, but it's tough to see it because you don't see it in the media. You don't see it in any media whatsoever, right or left. The left definitely doesn't fucking show it. And the right just only wants to show, hey, here's your pro-life candidate, vote for him.
Yeah.
I actually filled out a feedback notice, and I was very proud of myself. I left a comment on Fox News' feedback page. I was very, very adamant about their lack of a moderator in their comments section on every one of their news stories. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always some racist, crazy shit being said on there. I felt like someone had to be the adult and saying, I don't agree with this.
Yeah, I'm sure that shut him up.
I don't know. I gotta believe somebody read that somewhere and said, you know what, this is fucked up. Somebody finally just said, we thought we would keep going with it, guys. We thought the joke would continue forever. Until we said we'd only stop until someone said, I don't agree with this, in an adult-like fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody did. So maybe that's it. Good morning, starlight. The world says hello.
So what we were talking about was the difference between the Republicans and Democrats. Now, you said that the Democrats try to put in more, government programs, safety nets, and the Republicans basically just do tax cuts, and that's how they say they help the the people.
Yeah, it's all about understanding
issues.
how the spin goes.
That's the thing.
What?
I would say that they both do try to promote government programs. It's just what government programs are palatable to their base. So not just tax cuts for Republicans. There's actually a government program that Republicans are very for and continually push to put more money into. And what that is the military and the military-industrial complex.
Yep.
Now, so by doing that, so a lot of towns, especially conservative towns, they rely on one gigantic company, and a lot of times they're like some kind of military contractor, like with Melbourne and Harris.
Right.
Like almost the entire town runs on Harris. If Harris went away or got cut back, you'd have a whole bunch of people out of a job. So that is their government program, where the government is paying, whatever company to build, communication systems, weapon systems, whatever, tanks, whatever it is that particular company.
It was surveillance.
Yeah, for Harris, but whatever. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, whatever the fuck, doesn't matter. They pay them, and then they pay their workers, and they have job security as long as the government keeps paying them.
Mm-hmm.
So that in effect is a government program. Now that sounds a lot better to a conservative person that I'm not actually getting helped out. I have a job. That job is funded by the government, and that job isn't necessarily needed. They just keep spending money on the military just because. Or you have the Democratic side, which creates, government programs that, they're not perfect, and they're not palatable to Republicans because they see it as a handout.
Right, but that kind of it hits on the great hypocrisy.
Is that that's for me, that's what the difference between they are. It's just what audience are they playing to, and that audience has changed before, like we talked about, and it might change again. And it's just what sounds good to you.
Right, yeah.
And maybe that's what politics should be. But
that's the whole idea of representative politics. They are trying to represent your ass. Are they trying to tell you what to think? Fuck yeah. But ultimately, they have to succumb if enough people rise up and say a different thing, or just say anything in that regard, and they respond to it. And you see it. You see it in the dumbass waves of people that you get. You'll get progressive waves, and then you'll get your fucking crazy Tea Party waves, who really, really, really don't like black people. And they are going to let everybody know about it. They are going to dress up in Indian garb and throw your fucking tea in the harbor. That's it. That's what they're going to do.
It just seems
Tea Party!
Like both parties are really just doing the same thing. They're making sure that their constituents have money in their pockets, and whatever. There's, again, from a fundamental standpoint, all I see is the hot button issues of birth control and firearm control. That's essentially it.
Yeah, those are the things that get people super hot. Anything that gets people red hot, they are willing to touch on it. And that is why these Republicans are just, nowadays, they are burnt. They don't know what they're fucking doing. They are becoming more and more fractured, and it is very clear, as clear as it can be, that they are going to have to start picking. I mean, they already had to start picking sides, and they have started to do so. There's the Lincoln Project, which are the Never Trumpers, and they've been vocal for years now, and their numbers are growing. John McCain's old campaign manager, can't remember his name. I know he's played by Woody Harrelson in that HBO movie.
Yeah.
The Rogue, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I suggest it. It's pretty good stuff.
Has Ed Harris as McCain, right?
That's right. That's who I was mixing up. It was Ed Harris as McCain.
Yeah.
And Woody Harrelson as his campaign manager. Woody Harrelson's character in real life, whose name escapes me, said that he's quoted as saying that the Republican Party has to burn itself down. This is your campaign manager for the president of 12 years ago, and that's it. That's it. The Republican Party, as we know it, has to burn itself all the way down, because where it has gone has spiraled so far into its own ism that it's unrecognizable by certain standards.
Yeah.
But that's the genius of this disgusting campaign. It's just a distracticon, as far as I'm concerned. or a Decepticon, trademark pending. Nobody has that, right? Nobody's trademarked Decepticon, right?
Don't think so, no.
Trump's not just a Decepticon in a fucking Andy Kaufman suit or something, or he's not Andy Kaufman in a Decepticon suit. I've completely lost all track of reality at this point. It's gonna happen. Andy Kaufman's gonna rip out and go, ha 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 ha, I'm the greatest.
Actually,
God damn it, Andy! Damn it! He's a fucking genius. Tricked America and the world into doing crazy, crazy things.
Yep.
Except Andy was just about the jokes. This guy's just about the money. Which is even dumber.
It's not even just about the money. It's about... The thing about Trump is what's going on in the world. Anything material does not matter. The only thing that matters is the perception of what is real, not actual reality. As long as the general perception is the way that he wants it, he's happy. And when the perception is not the way he wants it, he's not happy. And that's basically it. It doesn't matter if he actually did a good job. It's just whether people believe he did a good job.
So we should just build him a fucking statue, pretend he did a good job, tell him he did a good job, and then just do whatever the hell we want after. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he would cause a whole hell of a lot less havoc if we just put him in a bubble and just isolated him from the world and then made our own goddamn decisions and dealt with Pence.
Sure, but that's not what happened.
Oh, God.
But,
I don't know. So what's going to happen? I mean, is the bottom 25% of this country, in terms of intelligence, the people who actually need to pass a cognitive test in order to actually go into a polling place, are these people going to see the light? Have you experienced any of them? Have you talked to anybody like that?
All right. Well, first, it's a mistake to think that every single really stupid person is a Trump voter or a Republican.
I agree with that 100%.
There are
I
some
worked
really
20 feet
stupid
away from
liberals.
I worked 20 feet away from one.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentages are, but I think they're fairly close.
No, there's plenty of people who are playing the numbers, who are treating this like it's a game. They're, day traders who vote for Trump because he increases the volatility of the stock market. There's people who have never believed in the income tax.
The Ron Swansons of the world.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's different. There's the people who think that government should be 100% abolished. And wow, he has accomplished that goal in such magnificent fashion as to boggle even Republican minds. Like, they wanted it. They're the dogs that caught the car nowadays. That's what they are. They're dogs on whose jaws are clenched on the bumper of a car going 50 miles an hour. And they don't know how to let go because they got what they wanted and they're terrified. They've got an administration and agencies across the board that are filled with either no acting director, no secretary. There's no secretary of anything. He didn't bother nominating anybody because that was the point. If you don't nominate anybody, there's no one in charge. And if there's no one in charge, then there's nothing but acting directors, interim directors, assistant deputy director of the derp. There's no one in charge. So no one has the authority, officially and legally, to do anything. So everything that's being done it can be chalked up to, well, there's nobody in charge, so I was just doing my job as it was. And so nothing gets enforced. There's no new cases being made. Nothing's happening at the EPA. Nothing's being done this way or that. Nobody's looking at anybody fucking up.
So first what he did is most of his cabinet he filled with people who were the exact antithesis of the departments they were in charge of. Betsy DeVos has zero experience with public schools. She never went to a public school. She never had a kid that went to a public school. She never worked for a public school. She's never been in a public school, probably until like about a year into her term as Secretary of Education. The first head of the EPA was suing the EPA when he became the director of it. So, but then, just because of personnel, their personality problems, a lot of them, or just complete and utter incompetence, mostly just personality problems. The competence wasn't all that big of a deal. They, got fired, and Trump learned pretty quick that to put in someone in these positions, in these permanent positions, he has to get Senate approval. So he has to run this by the Senate Republicans, essentially, because it turned into a 50% vote because of Harry Reid, the Democratic Senate Majority Leader during the Obama administration. Hey everybody, it's Burt. We're going to be cutting this episode short, making another two-parter. Before I sign out, though, there was a bit between me and Matt talking about the audio editing that I thought was kind of funny, so I just kind of stuck it in here at the end of the episode. So enjoy, and see you guys later. Okay.
So at the 38-minute and 1 second mark.
Ugh.
That is when the recording has begun.
38. 1 second. Whatever.
How hard is it to chop off the first whatever?
Harder than not doing it.
Oh my... No.